Good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners work session, Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. It's 10:05 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left, Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Mejia, Commissioner Grant, Commissioner Klaus, County Manager Leonard Hernandez, and I see Assistant County Manager Josh Cummings joining us. Hi, Josh. Public virtual attendance available on the Thurston County YouTube channel. We have 2 hours if we need it. No, we don't have 2 hours because we have to be at the chamber, but the first up on the agenda is scaled back courthouse hill renovation project follow-up.
Thank you so much, Chair. I want to start by inviting the team to come on up. We've been working hard and diligent on this project. Also want to give a special thanks to Josh, who is joining us from DC, but his leadership commitment, and the fact that his wife's in a conference during the day allows him to, and that he snowed in, I think.
Oh, yes.
Snowed in.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, DC got pretty smacked hard with snow. But Josh has done a fantastic job of spearheading this effort. Before we get started, I also really want to give a thanks to the commissioners. Your decision to be unified on this issue has really helped and bolstered the stakeholders who have looked to you for leadership and direction, and has allowed us to have the conversations about where do we go next. And there's really 3 different components of our next steps. This is one of them, which is bringing back to you. Our commitment was to give you options on how much we were going to spend on the scaled back version. The second component is in the next 2 weeks or so, we want to release some type of competitive process out to the community and into the development community for options on lease, purchasing, property, etc. for our new courthouse complex. And then the third component would be conversations about a community engagement strategy, most likely with an outside firm, but we haven't really got that kicked off too far yet, but those are the components. Today, what we have is an overview of different options and the scoping of those options. The team, Tom, Rick, I appreciate Bruce's leadership as well. They've looked at the bare minimum, middle of the road, and then what is a higher level recommendation, partly to address some significant components of the facility. And for context and remembrance, we're looking at the next phase of this project dovetailing a few things. We are in 2 years into a 7-year lease in this facility. We want to try to extend the operational lifespan, even though the physical lifespan of the building is past its useful life. We want to extend the operational lifespan of the current courthouse complex for 5 to 7 years, to give us time to do an analysis, start looking at how do we lease to own, purchase facilities, potentially purchase land. Those are the options that have been reviewed with you. As those things dovetail together, what we see taking place and hopefully recommending to the board after a competitive process is a multi-tiered approach to how do we go from leasing and facilities that do not meet our current needs and are past their useful life to a long-term strategy that meets every stakeholder's need. The stakeholders have been extremely accommodating in looking at just what their needs are and not what their wants are. I've been extremely proud of the judges for coming together as a team to say we are willing to forego some of our needs today for a long-term plan and just go with the bare minimum. As we understand, and many of you have toured or worked in that facility, know that there's a lot of safety and other challenges there. So with that, I'm going to pass over. I'm going to pass on to Josh just to kind of frame the options and give a little bit more background, and of course, I'll let him take the lead.
Great.
Josh.
Thank you, Leonard. That was an excellent opener. So, Leonard set the table very nicely. The last email that I sent to the Board of County Commissioners requested input on the level of work and provided the different options with the amounts and what those items would be. I just want to have a huge shout out to Tom Stremke there in the room. He has done some great work in making sure that we listened clearly to the stakeholders, including the judges, and also we're respectful of the taxpayer dollars. It's important for us to frame this in the manner that it is, that the first time that this was looked at in terms of remodeling Courthouse Hill, the expenditures were in the $40 million area. And that just wasn't palatable to the Board of County Commissioners at that time. So you all provided direction to look at this scale back option. And so scaling back from the $40 million down to those three options that you have, the 2.4, the 3.4, the 4.4 million, is really a big piece of how we're going to start this communication project. So I would say the needs, the recommendation that staff is making is that to meet all the needs of the stakeholders at this juncture, that we go with the 4.4 million. And then also in terms of the future, making it marketable, the mansard roof, the orange peeling roof, is something that is just an eyesore when you go to the campus at the first walkthrough. So having an additional 1 million that was not asked for by the stakeholders, I want to make sure that that's clear, that that was added on by your staff, thinking about future marketability.
Josh, if I
So
could
we made a clear recommendation there.
oh, sorry, just interrupt for 1 sec.
Go ahead.
While not specifically asked for by stakeholders, I will say that the optics of the roof peeling creates a very distinct and demoralized situation because the buildings look dilapidated. And it wasn't asked for, but it has been mentioned. I've toured the facility about 4 times with different stakeholders. Every time I've toured, it's been mentioned to me directly or indirectly, as you can see, the situation. I understand there's been a history of as to why we couldn't do it. It's not as simple. Ty and I can go on the weekend with our paintbrushes and just knock it out. But it is something that creates a very present dynamic and is something that the public and staff and our leaders there in the building notice. Sorry, Josh, to interrupt.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So the board, you have all of the details on the different levels of work, but if you'd like for the team to enumerate those in this meeting, they can. The end of this story is a request for the board to tell us which level of work the staff should proceed on working with the contractors. And the goal, as has been stated in previous emails, is to have the majority of this work done so that the office moves can begin the fall of this year.
And I can just go through those quickly for you. Option 1 put the cost range at about 2.3 million. And there was, we go through building 1, there's paint and some carpet, HVAC, IT, wayfinding, ADA, some ADA restroom components. Building 2, Courthouse 102, paint and carpet, duress buttons, not that the buildings are in duress, but the duress buttons, HVAC, wayfinding. Building 3, duress buttons, HVAC. Building 4 and 5 really didn't contain much work besides some of the people shifting around. Option 2 was at 3.6 million. And I'm reading off of the update that was sent by the team. Building 1 included paint and some carpet, HVAC, IT, wayfinding, ADA restroom enhancement, paint and some carpet, HVACs, IT, wayfinding. Building 2 included some paint, carpet, duress buildings, HVAC, and wayfinding. Building 3 included some paint and carpet, duress, buttons, HVAC, wayfinding, new doors, in some cases paint touch-up, and Building 5 included paint touch-up. Option 3 is 4.4 million, and that is, I think that's staff's recommendation, correct, Josh?
That's correct.
Building 1, and really it builds off itself. All of the things
Right.
mentioned with the main campus roof, and a bit of an expanded scope to restore some of the other components of cleaning and other things like that. So the projected total for option 3 with the roof is about 5.5 million. And while staff has that recommendation, we are open for commissioners' input. It's not a recommendation that if you don't do option 3 and the roof, something bad is going to happen. We just wanted to present the dynamics as staff saw it. And really are open for your feedback and perspectives.
Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. Thank you so much to staff for giving us the different options, as long as the restorations that would happen in each of the buildings, as going through the different options and kind of seeing those, really kind of laid it out, the scope of the project for me. I agree with the staff recommendation of option 3, and also the restoring and cleaning of the mansard roof. I've been hearing about that roof, I think, for my whole county employment. And so I think it's definitely needed. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm in agreement with the recommendation put forward by staff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the staff's work. You know, we ask for options, and we ask that, you know, careful consideration be given to things being done to the buildings that would have a return when we go to market, and I see that, and I appreciate that. I'm apt to follow staff recommendation. I know that a lot of thought has been put into it, and this was a big shift from a year ago and a big pivot in the way we're going. You know, I'm in favor of following staff recommendation. I'm looking forward to the next bigger global steps as we try to solve our facility needs that are needed to be solved.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that, you know, while I'm the newest to this information, I just want to say thank you to Josh and to Leonard and to all of you for taking the time this week to kind of quickly get me up to speed on the work that you've been doing, the history of the project, and all the different pieces. I also am inclined to go with the option 3, and I think the work you guys have done is absolutely, you know, it's great, and I think that we're on a good path. So looking forward to what's next as well, though.
And I just want to echo that. Thank you to staff. I remember the first couple briefs we had on this when we were still going with the first plan, and just the tension in the room when we talked about the plan was like, I think everyone felt it. And so the fact that staff were able to kind of redirect with, you know, the board's decision and find all of these different options is really, to me, it's really incredible and it's really impressive. So I just want to thank staff for all of your hard work on giving us these specific options so that we can kind of look at them and compare them. And I'm also inclined to go with option 3. I have the email that kind of lays out each option and what each option entails. And I'd be interested in seeing kind of the breakdown of the finances just when you have a chance to get them to me. I don't need to see them to make the decision today, because I trust that these options have been fully vetted by staff. And I would love to see kind of the financial breakdown, but I'm also inclined to go with option 3. The fact that you're able to make these changes, or, you know, recommend these changes and these renovations, plus the roof for a maximum of $5.5 million, to me is really, it's great. I mean, I'm just really appreciative of staff, and I'm happy to see that these are the options that you were able to come forward with today.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds like we have concurrence on that.
Right? There's 2 other items we wanted to mention. Before we do, I know he doesn't like recognition, but Tom has been an amazing player in all of this, because he's been the staffer that has gone into the conversations with the stakeholders. It was so willing to adapt. A lot of folks, if they've spent all this time and hours working on a plan, and then there needs to be a change, they can have some heartache with it. And all along the way, he's been a facilitator of, well, here's what I think you can do. Here's what you need to be mindful of. And so, Tom, we just want to thank you so much for your hard work.
That's a good point. That was like my biggest fear in starting to talk about this, was like stepping on toes. But like the way we've been able to pivot, I think it's awesome. And really, thank you.
Yeah. There are 2 other components to this. The stakeholders felt it was an opportunity for us to take the narrative from this is a problem to this is a county opportunity.
Mhm.
And part of that is a desire for them to have the board adopt a proclamation showing their commitment to a long-term strategy. You've all have already done that in actions you've taken previously and publicly have made those statements. This would be an opportunity for, through the board's official action of a proclamation, which a draft was provided, to also allow stakeholders to come out and to communicate their support. The unity around this item that the county's been able to build, I believe, is a wonderful indicator of the commissioners' leadership and our elected officials' leadership to come together to understand that if we're going to build community momentum and trust, we need as a leadership to be on the same page. And so as part of that, there's also a press release. These are drafts. We have sent them out for feedback and input. We ultimately, the release you have doesn't have comments from the commissioners. We first wanted to go through this briefing, but after this briefing, Amy with the comms team and Josh will work with your offices to get quotes as well. And so the opportunity we'd have is at our next meeting on the 21st, that we would recommend the board consideration for a proclamation where stakeholders would come out and provide comment and then a press release to follow if the board adopts it.
So when I was going through emails, I was trying to put them in order and follow the chain. I saw Judge Buckley had some comments to the proclamation that I thought actually were cleaner, just in terms of the wording and stuff. Were those incorporated, or were those still just out there for consideration, or?
Josh?
No, so it's gone through a couple of iterations. The original draft was sent to the stakeholders. We received input from Judge Buckley. We incorporated that input. Then we received input from Superior Court through Judge Skinder. We incorporated that input. That went back out through Kristen Jensen and to Judge Buckley, and they had another bit of iteration. So it's gone through 4 or 5 different pieces, and what you have is essentially the 4th of 5th.
Okay.
There's another, the judges had one more addition, I think yesterday morning. I'm not sure if that made it in, but essentially it's the same kind of format in terms of the courts and stakeholders are committed to accepting this scaled back option in respect for county funds and foregoing all the big ones to then build trust with the community for the bigger courthouse down the road. So the message remains the same, but I think there was a couple of tweaks here and there. Again, it's open to review. We wanted to make sure we had this conversation with the commissioners and we can be more specific or general, however you guys like to take it forward.
I mean, I was perfectly comfortable with what it said. I just wanted to make sure that, I know a lot of the point was to have that buy-in from the judges. So I just wanted to make sure they were comfortable with what it said so that otherwise we're not accomplishing the goal of having the proclamation at all. So if this has been vetted as you describe, I'm good with it. So,
Yeah, I wanted to say I took a really close look at the first draft of the proclamation, the current draft, and the feedback that we received from one of the stakeholders in our email, and I was really impressed to see how you were able to incorporate that feedback in the new draft. That to me I really appreciated that because we want our stakeholders to feel heard. I noticed just one small thing. Let's see. In the first draft, there was just the word, well, it seems like it was maybe handled in the be it resolved piece, but there was a clause in the first draft that talked about the collaborative, more of the collaborative nature. And let me see if I can find the quote here. I'm trying to pull up the first draft. Oh, the 1217 draft included language that emphasized collaboration in the exploration of solutions, which I felt helped center stakeholder input and reinforce a cooperative process. So I wasn't sure if there was a way that we could put the collaborative exploration of solutions back into that clause. It's not a huge deal because the last statement talks about a fiscally responsible, collaborative, and transparent process. So we do handle it there. but I thought that it was really powerful to kind of reinforce that this has been a collaborative process. It's not just the board making decisions and directing staff. It's the board and county leadership really, and staff really engaging with the stakeholders thoroughly. And through all the processes we've seen as commissioners during my experience here, it's kind of hard to collaborate with a ton of stakeholders on a major project. So the fact that you were able to do this with one of the most significant projects I've been a part of, the collaborative nature of this has just been incredible and invaluable. So I thought maybe it would be a good idea to just kind of fit that wording back into one of these clauses to really push that we've put in a largely collaborative effort to make this happen.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. I would say the stakeholders, including the judges, are very clearly understanding that this is a board proclamation. So if there's other pieces that you would like to have in it, I think that obviously it's not going to change the tenor to state collaboration again. So if the board wills it, we can make that change. And I would also say in terms of the collaboration, I'm going to jump back on staff again. They took a facilitation role and a deep listening role that got us to this point, and it's been heard. I've gotten such good feedback from our stakeholders that Tom and Rick and Bruce have been listening in a way that has created success. So sorry, just want to put that plug in again.
Josh, and can I just add another plug, because I think it's really important, right? As we've undertaken, and I'm going to take a pivot to kind of just central services in general and project management. We've been going through a lot of transitions when it comes to building. We're planning so many transitions in the long term, right? From this project to the sheriff's building to the long-term plan for the courthouse to the ballot processing center and the voter registration center that just ended. And I want to say that I am so thankful to Bruce, Rick, more importantly, Tom, Tony, and beforehand Richard, that they have really changed the narrative when it comes to how we do business and engaging with stakeholders. And I've heard very positive feedback from all of the stakeholders that this team has engaged in, from elected officials to department directors, that they feel heard. And even when they're saying, you know, we can't do that, they still feel heard, and they are led to understand why we can't do that. So just very thankful for that path that you are all following. I think it's really important that we continue to have and continue to build that trust and relationships, because it wasn't there before. And I know it's been really hard, and there was trepidation at first, but now you're all setting the narrative that you're willing to listen, you're willing to work with our stakeholders. So just thank you all so much for that, and for really changing that narrative. It's so important.
Here. Well done, team.
Okay,
So it sounds like
We got a way forward.
we got
proclamation is good. I didn't
a
have
couple
any.
words to be added in.
Yeah, the Commissioner Claus suggestion is fine for me. And then what else do we need to cover?
That's it. The direction's been given. Staff will be off and engaging with our construction team, get moving, and we will bring this for the 21st and then have a press release with your quotes added. Thank you so much. Anything else?
Do you mind if I add, because in reference to Commissioner Edwards, you always want to know, are we going to be brought back to approve money? So we have a target value now of 5.5. We'll come back to you. Our goal is to come back on the March board meeting, March 4th, with a contract value that says this is what we went out and got. That's what we'll finalize, so that you will know that you are spending X amount of dollars moving forward.
Thank you for not letting the day go by without remembering Commissioner Edwards.
Are we working through the same contractor that was going to be doing the bigger?
Yes, so the team, Mortensen Construction and Miller Hall Architectural Firm, those are the ones help draw these things 5, 6, 7 times, pricing it out so that we gave them the targets, what we want. We went and walked the building. We know what we can do for that price, and that's how we've got to this point.
Thank you, Tom, for that. That was helpful. So let me just piggyback on that a little bit. So January 21st will be essentially the stakeholder kickoff. where, as we talked about, we'll do the news release and the proclamation, and we'll start the ball rolling. But really, the formal go is the contract signature in March that Tom just mentioned. So thank you for bringing that up, Tom. So you'll see this come up in a couple of different ways. But now that we have the direction on the scale and scope of where we're going, we're excited to get started. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Can I make one more request before the meeting for January 21st? I know that financial information is going to be posted up, but just to be made available to the public, as well as how it was laid out to us, what changes, are going to be included into the different buildings. So just that way, the public has kind of a way to see what changes are going to be coming in as well to buildings 1 through 5.
Great. And so we'll work with Tom. Tom and Rick have done a great job on the rough order of magnitude. So we don't want to, we're going to definitely have these numbers to be transparent with them, but just know that it's very preliminary and we're working to work within that scope, but we'll see how it plays out. But that's what we believe the cost will be.
And Josh, maybe what we can do is have a project summary sheet attached to the press release so that the press can get those details without it turning into a 3-page press release.
I take a really quick note on that as well. Once these drawings get finalized with the design build team, we are planning to go back to our county website page and update that with our most recent information. So again, that'll probably be a few weeks out from now, but that's on our to-do list.
So we'll have a press release and a spec sheet, and we'll have that like, hey, for the latest, and couch this as preliminary numbers. But
yes,
got it.
Progress of where we're at.
Perfect. Good job, team.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, if someone makes me a list of things that Gary used to say, I would be happy to just spout them off when you're in here, if that makes you more comfortable.
Yeah, that's a project right there.
Yeah.
Edwardisms,
Yes.
Garyisms. I like Garyisms.
Is that
Okay,
it for us, or no?
Good.
Commissioner items, if there's any burning topics. Commissioner Mejia's,
I have to run to Orca, so
Okay,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
get off, but
Yeah,
thank you for the session.
sounds good.
Thank you. Just really quick, I got contacted by Habitat for Humanity. And so what they are doing is they're contacting different jurisdictions to have a build day. And so that is where we all volunteer and go help and
Jimmy Carter style?
Jamie Carter style, yes. And they wanted to include the 5 commissioners. However, I think it would be great to invite all of the Thurston County staff to join us, as
Matt's
well.
offered to put in 40 hours.
And as well as inviting maybe our advisory board members. I really want to show out. I know that the city of Tumwater told me that they're already working on it and they're going to make a huge thing. So I want to go ahead and
Beat them?
I want to beat them, and I want to
Yes.
have a strong Thurston County showing
Challenge
for that
accepted.
college.
It's a
Challenge
competitive thing.
accepted.
I am 1,000% in to look
Yeah,
better than
let's
that.
do it.
We have to, yeah.
Yes.
And so I just think it would be great to
Is this being planned for like spring?
well, that's kind of where I was asking if, Amy can coordinate with Habitat for Humanity. They said they were flexible on days and they can work with us on when we're available. And so if Amy can work and maybe put out an email out to all staff, inviting them to join us once the date is selected.
Matt and I are going to build a whole house by ourselves.
Which I think is a great, not only great volunteer effort, but an opportunity for our employees to give back, but also team building and camaraderie. So lots of opportunities there. We'll reach out to Habitat and get some dates and timeframes and circulate them with your calendar.
Perfect. I'll forward the email to you and to Amy. Thank you so much.
Real quick, can I just ask, last year, there was an email to commissioners from a constituent about a damage claim, and I brought it up, and I think there was gonna be a follow-up, and I just check in if that's something we'll discuss, or if there's.
Yeah. Risk will get us an update by next week, and depending on where it's at, we can send out the information, but then bring it back for discussion.
Okay, yeah, I haven't responded, and I hate to leave a constituent hanging like that, so thank you. Anything else? Yep.
The list of proclamations that we're going to do for the year.
Yes.
Curious when we're going to address that again. there's kind of two new ones that I'd like to throw in there. One of them I mentioned last year, and it was some way to recognize kind of like some of the missing persons throughout Thurston County. And then in May, doing like a prairie appreciation.
Yeah, I got that
type.
on the list.
Okay, yeah, and Jennifer Colvin really wants to make that a thing.
I also got a request from Chris Lester that I sent over to the county manager because I was like, have we done, and they are requesting that Thurston County do a proclamation in regards to Fair Housing Month. And it's every April that they do that. So, and that is to commemorate the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968 and reflect on housing discrimination and segregation, past and present. And so they have sent us a draft proclamation, and so that's another one that I would like added to the list for consideration for the board as well.
We realized that from our last conversation, because we were talking about a new approach, we never finalized that, so it is on the clerk's agenda. Probably next week we can bring it back. I'll have Jenica join us, and she was taking a lead, and our approach in summary was the board to select all the proclamations, but then at least once a month to select one that we can do a larger community type engagement on, similar to the Quilts of Valor.
Awesome.
And
Yeah, I think we should do more, like, but, you know, we should be willing to do more.
yes,
But, like, without that
100%.
ceremony.
yes,
Because a lot of times what they want to do is say, hey, we got 100 jurisdictions to do this, or they want to take it and use it externally. They don't need a show in this room.
Yeah.
yeah, there'll be
And
two,
I'm happy to do all of those that are valid.
and that's what our recommendation.
Limit the ones that are going to
Yeah.
be,
There'll be two lists, ones that
Have
are
a speed lane and then,
on consent, and then the ones that are
Yeah.
presentation based,
Yeah.
which gives you the ability to do a lot more.
yeah. So do more, yeah, so I think that's a good approach.
two more items. I just want to say, I appreciate this new edition. This is, I think, a nice addition. And then I want to acknowledge that we have a council member from Lacey City Council visiting, and I think everybody knows Nick Dunning. He wanted to kind of come in and see how we operate and what we do, so he'll be here until, and then join us at the chamber meeting.
Great to have you.
Okay, well, I think that's it for commissioner items, and we're at the end of the agenda, and we're adjourned.